Okay, these are the notes for Chapter 1 of Web 214, Social Media. This is the role of social media marketing. Many businesses struggle with social media because they lack a definite plan. So businesses know they need to be in the social media landscape, but they don't quite know how to use it. They don't quite know what the ways and means are that they should use social media to the maximum potential that they possibly can. Now, they will have an end goal in mind, obviously, to create awareness of their brand, to attract people to their brand, to get others to talk about their brand, but they won't be creating a strategy. They don't know quite how to put that strategy together. They may not have the objectives in place. They may not have the action steps that they need in order to be able to make those things happen. So there's no plan as to how they're going to use the social media platforms that are available to them. Well, let's talk a little bit about what exactly is social media marketing. Social media marketing refers to the process of gaining website traffic or attention through social media sites. So it's all about putting yourself out there, letting others know that you're out there, and creating content in such a way that people are attracted to the content that you provide, so that ultimately they may go and share that content within their social networks. This form of marketing is driven by word of mouth, meaning that it results in earned media rather than paid media. So a lot of times when we think of marketing, we think of commercials. We think of the ads that you hear on radio or see on TV, or the banner ads that you may see on a website. All of those things are paid for by the various companies that put that content out there. Meanwhile, word of mouth works just like it would if you're out on the street and you see a friend walking down the street and you're talking to each other, and maybe you just came from a restaurant. They had really good food. You're telling your friend about the restaurant and just giving a testimony of how well this restaurant is. Great customer service, great food, large portions, good prices, whatever it is that you're telling them about that restaurant. Well, it works that way in the social media realm, and that's why social media marketing is so attractive, not only because of the financial costs that may be involved, not quite as much as traditional advertising, but also because when you have others doing your advertising for you, putting out your videos, putting out your audio, putting out your flyers and pictures and memes and whatever else, and other people are spreading that for you, it gives you more credibility because it's not you that's shoving it in somebody's face. It's others that are doing the work for you. Kind of like a testimonial, if you will. Social media marketing has a number of important aspects. First off, creating buzz or newsworthy events, videos, tweets, blog entries, anything that attracts attention and has the potential to become viral in nature. That's a very important part of social media. If someone thinks it's popular enough or good enough that they should put it on their social media site, share it with their friends, and then they see it and they like it and they share it with their friends, so on and so on and so on, you're getting exposure that you couldn't even try to pay for if you wanted to. Building ways that enable fans of a brand or company to promote a message themselves in multiple online social media venues. So what we see here is that you're going to have so many different social media outlets, and if you use as many of those as you can to your advantage for the folks that are using those platforms, looking for your target audience, and we'll talk about that in a bit, it is going to be able to give you that much more exposure. Social media marketing is based around online conversations. Social media marketing is not controlled by the organization. This is an important aspect here. Again, it's the fact that the users are seeing your content and they're spreading your message. Or perhaps the users are coming up with content themselves, talking about the experience they had working with your company, and then going out and sharing that content with other people. So It's not controlled by the organization. Instead, it encourages user participation and dialogue. Fourthly, social media is part of a larger media ecosystem of owned, paid, and earned media, which represents a way for marketers to leverage their own brand efforts. So let's take a look at this. This is a shot from your textbook that explains these three different things: paid media, owned media, and earned media. Paid media is your traditional advertising, print, television, radio, displays, direct mail, paid search, retail, channel, all those sort of things where you have one message that you are trying to reach out to with a mass audience. And it is something that you are controlling what the message of that content is going to be. So when you see a commercial on television or hear a commercial on radio, you see the banner ads, you see the mail flyers that come in. All of that is generated by the company, and, well, they control the message that's being conveyed there. Owned media, corporate websites, campaign, microsite blogs, brand community, Facebook fan page, all that sort of thing. Now, they're reaching out to a smaller niche of customers. In that case, usually it's going to be people that need the services of this type of company or like the services that this company provides. So they're reaching more their target audience in this way. And the owner that produces the content is still in control of the message that's being put out there. Finally, you have earned media. Earned media is the word of mouth that we've been talking about. Also, comments that are made on Facebook, Twitter mentions, replies, blogs, review sites, all those sorts of things where people voluntarily give their input on your company or your brand. And those are hopefully going to be very positive in nature and help you to be able to grow your business, your entity, whatever it is that you're trying to promote. The most valuable media in all of this ecosystem is earned media. When people begin talking about a brand and its content, they spread the word with no additional effort on the part of the marketer. Even more important, this digital word of mouth confers much credibility on the brand. Again, because the message is not coming from you, it's coming from those that have interacted with you. Like traditional public relations, the brand cannot control the nature of this conversation, but positive word of mouth in earned media can give the brand a significant boost. So what we're talking about here, again, is the fact that you're not the one that's conveying the message. You have a vested interest in the message that's being put out there. But if someone else is voluntarily sharing something about you out in the public square, that is something that is going to hold a lot more weight to people that may be considering what it is that you have to offer. Let's talk about the 7 myths of social media marketing. First myth is that social media is just a fad. We kind of scrolled through this graphic here. This is from your textbook on page 5, and this shows just how popular social media has become. So you see how many numbers of users are actively involved in all the different platforms that are available. You see the numbers for Facebook and WhatsApp and all the other ones that are out there. And these are numbers that are 5 years old at this point. These numbers have grown exponentially throughout time. But you can see that a lot of people are getting involved in social media in one way or another. People are inherently social creatures to some extent. What has changed is the media by which people are able to express social impulses. Not only has that changed, but the numbers of people that we can reach by sharing things online. You may only have a few close friends in school or at work or in your neighborhood or whatever, but you may have hundreds of Facebook friends. And many of those people will see the things that you post on a regular basis. So there is a lot of power that comes along with social media besides what has been traditionally been done in social circles. Specific social media platforms change considerably over time, and other platforms rise and fall in popularity. Well, remember MySpace? If any of you have ever used MySpace. The social media marketer must be alert to ongoing changes in the social media environment. So unless you're following a certain niche where musicians nowadays do use MySpace to a certain extent, you may not want to put your brand on a place where people are not going. Just a thought. Marketers will focus on the platforms most used by their target audiences. Makes sense. If the people that you are trying to reach are on Facebook, you'll market on Facebook. If they're on Twitter, you'll focus on Twitter. If it's a more professional environment and you're looking for professionals, you may use LinkedIn. So you're going to focus your message. You're going to focus the platform on which your audience is located. Myth number 2, social media is just for the young. Well, that's becoming less and less true as we go along. Older users are among the fastest growing demographic on most social media sites. We'll take a look up here at this chart right here, and this shows the different age groups that are increasingly using social media. So you do see that a lot of it is going to be younger adults, ages 18 to 29, but we are seeing increasingly more as time goes along, older adults also using social media. So very important to consider. It's not just a young person's game anymore. Social networks are increasingly being adopted by older populations and becoming incredibly diverse, with users spanning all age and income brackets. Part of this has to do with the fact that mobile communication has become much more affordable for many people. It's a challenge to find someone that does not have a smartphone these days. So they have that connectivity with them, and they're learning to use the various social media apps. Most businesses, if they're willing to look, can find their target consumers on social media sites. It also means that they should not simply try to appeal to a large heterogeneous audience. They need to hone targeting skills for their own messaging and for paid advertising. So again, it's that age-old question that we've talked about in the beginning of the fall semester, in production class and in the intro to broadcasting class. Two main questions that every communicator needs to ask. Number 1, what is your message? Number 2, who is your audience? So just throwing something up online and trying to attract as many as you can may not be the best tactic. You may need to hone your message specifically to a certain group of people that you want to hear your message. And you need to think about how you're going to do that. And that includes in the online space. Myth number 3, there is no return on SMM. But that's not to say that measuring the return on social media marketing is easy. So this is a false myth that we're talking about here. There is a return on SMM, but it requires careful planning, careful execution, consistent monitoring, and the discipline to analyze and gain business insights from monitoring data. Now, part of the challenge here is that a lot of times when we think of marketing, we think of marketing in terms of a return of investment, an ROI, in a financial sense. However, in the online space, awareness can become a huge commodity. Consider some of the examples the textbook talks about. The Ice Bucket Challenge from 2014, where one man with ALS was doing this Ice Bucket Challenge to raise awareness about the disease and raise money for the ALS Foundation, and it turned into a viral hit. There was the Share a Coke campaign, which seems to come back every summer now because people are going to their convenience stores and they're looking for the Coke bottle with their name on it or the name of someone that they want to share a Coke with. And then there was Taco Bell's taco emoji campaign because, who doesn't want a taco emoji? So there is a return on social media marketing. It's just not always quantified in terms of dollars, at least not right away. But the more buzz you create about your product, about your service, about your brand, the more people know about it, the more that they will consume your content, know more about you, and ultimately put you into a positive position, not just in exposure in the community, but eventually financially as well. Myth number 4, SMM isn't right for this particular business. Well, that one's also wrong. For all marketers, the top benefits of social media marketing are increasing exposure, increasing traffic, creating loyal fans, and generating business intelligence. This graph here, also from your textbook, this is from page 9, talks about some of the benefits of social media marketing and how many companies have recognized these as benefits for their particular business. Now, the longer that you've been involved in social media marketing, the more that you're going to see the benefits of it. But it is something that, as we will talk about, will take a certain amount of investment in order to do properly. We'll talk about what that means in a little bit. Improved search rankings and strong business partnerships are important to all marketers. So you have to know how to be savvy in using the research that's available, in making social media work to your advantage, creating partnerships with different businesses, different entities that you can help each other in the online space. All of those things are vitally important. The greatest benefit tends to occur early in the sales cycle, not at the point where purchases are being made or sales are being closed. So here's an important thing to recognize. Ultimately, we do want to see our businesses, our organizations, our branding be successful. In order to do that, though, there's a lot of work that comes before that final sale and the transactions that take place. There's relationships that need to happen. There's reputation that needs to be developed. There's trust that needs to be developed. All of those things are what happens in the early stages of the sales cycle, which means you've got to work, and you've got to work hard. Users are increasingly screening out traditional advertising media and focusing their attention towards social media, where, again, this is important. The consumer controls the content. The viewer controls the content. I mean, how many of us, when we're online or we're watching video on demand or whatever it is that we're doing, if we have the ability to skip a commercial, we skip the commercial. That's happening more and more and more. And the broadcasting world is trying to deal with that and find ways around that. But for now, anyway, some of the best online marketing is going to come from the word of mouth testimonials of people that have had a certain sort of exposure to that particular company or organization. Myth number 5, social media marketing is new. Well, the technology is new, but the principle is not. Most of the marketing principles based on social, behavioral, and economic concepts have been around for many years, but new technology and media are changing the role those concepts play in modern marketing efforts. So what does that mean? That means that the things that have been traditional in marketing, they're still out there. They're still important, but they are going to be transformed somewhat because of this new era in how not just we communicate with each other, but how we consume content and how we are entertained. The newest aspect of social media is the technology that enables open and transparent online conversations, and that's the key. Again, businesses are no longer in complete control of the narrative that's being put out there about them. There's a two-way conversation that's happening between the company or organization and those that use it. And there's a lot of people doing fact-checking. There's a lot of people that are not ashamed to talk about bad experiences that they've had. So it's hard to kind of hide behind a certain sort of persona or a certain type of appearance that you want to make for yourself. A lot of people are going to be able to sniff that out and will call companies fraudulent for doing so. In this case, it requires that everybody be as open and transparent as they possibly can. The reality is that consumers are already on social sites talking about businesses on their Facebook pages and other social media, whether a business acknowledges this or not. So you can't just, cover your eyes, cover your ears, pretend it's not there, because it is happening all around us, all about us. And instead of trying to hide from it or pretend that it's not there, we need to embrace it and we need to try to use it to our advantage. Myth number 6. Social media is too time consuming. Social media does require a consistent time commitment. That is true. But it doesn't have to be all-encompassing. The time commitment required to manage social media will depend on the specific social media strategy and approach that the company is trying to use. So in other words, the more involved that you want to get, whether you're posting graphics or doing audio or doing video or writing up articles or whatever it's going to take, that does take a commitment of time. Sometimes it can be very quick sort of things. It all depends on what your end game is. If you're just trying to grab someone's attention very quickly, if you're trying to share some sort of knowledge or some sort of humor or something that's related to what you're doing and get them to spend a few minutes of time with you in that content that you're providing, it's going to take a commitment of time in that regard. Now, after the initial setup and strategy, these businesses should be able to manage their social media programs effectively with only a few hours per week. And again, it's going to depend on how much content you want to put out there and how much of an investment you want to make. But if you're basically just trying to stay connected with your customer base, it doesn't take a whole lot. Maybe put something out every day or every other day, depending on the type of business that you have, depending on the kind of content that you're putting out there. Those sort of things can effectively be done after an initial amount of investment in time. There are 3 key ways to limit the time investment in social media marketing. First off, to look for underutilized employees who can spend some of their time on SMM. Now, if you've got someone that is not necessarily constantly going during their entire work shift, and they might have some idle time here or there, they might be able to redirect that time to work on social media. You might be able to hire somebody to work part-time or full-time, depending on the amount of content that you want to produce or think that you need to produce. The second opportunity is to leverage efficiency tools, tools like Hootsuite, TweetDeck, those sorts of tools. A lot of blogging sites have tools that will integrate with social media. The more that you can use those sorts of things, the easier it makes to maintain your social media presence. Finally, using mobile devices is a key way to boost efficiency. Again, just about everybody has a smartphone. Smartphones have the ability to take pictures, draw graphics, record audio. No matter where you are, it's possible to be able to produce something, create it, and put it out there for your followers to see. Myth number 7, social media is free. Now, this was a tricky one. It's true that most sites do not charge for usage of them. However, social media isn't really free. Now, there's 3 ways that this is true. First off, there's the cost in terms of personnel time and technology resources. So you're using the materials you have available to you. You're using time to create this content. It is going to take an investment of time, which can be very valuable. Second, there's also costs to producing and creating content. So you may need certain software programs. You need certain types of equipment, depending on the quality that you need to have that can jump in costs. Although you don't necessarily need to have the latest and greatest of tools to be able to create content, but you do want to create content that is compelling for the folks that you are trying to reach. So you need to keep that in mind. Finally, many businesses engaging in social media invest in a guide or consultant to help them through this process. Not everybody is web savvy. Not everybody has good communication skills. And sometimes it takes the help of a consultant to help them to be able to put their message together or to be able to create the message in such a way that is going to be appealing to their customer base. As time spent on social media is not free, it must be allocated wisely in order to generate maximum results. So you don't want to spend a lot of time working on something for a platform that many people might not see, or that content is going to be irrelevant to your customer base. You want to make sure that whatever you're taking the time to produce, it's going to be fruitful for those that would consume your content, and then, therefore, fruitful for you.